And we are back. What is going on, Colts Nation? Welcome back to another episode of Bring the Juice. I am your host, as always, Cody Felger, guys. The Indianapolis Colts are in New England, a joint practice on Tuesday, and the Colts kick off their preseason against the Patriots here on Thursday evening. So in this episode, I want to talk about some players that I am watching here and I'm very curious about here in training camp. Now, obviously, we probably won't see a good chunk of the starters. Definitely won't see Daniel Jones. Probably won't see a lot of certain guys on offense and defense. But there are some players that I am curious about that I think will be either competing for starting jobs or maybe a few starters will be out there, some of the younger guys. So really curious about that. So let's jump right into this, guys. And I think the biggest and most obvious choice here would be the two quarterbacks who are competing for that backup quarterback position, that obviously being Anthony Richardson and Riley Leonard here. Anthony Richardson has been confirmed will start the first half against the Patriots, and Riley Leonard will start the second half versus the Patriots. So we'll be very curious to see how both these players look here. You know, we've seen a lot of highs and lows from both these guys. So how do they look against different competition? All indications, they had a pretty good day against the Patriots defense. So how will that look? That remains to be seen. So those are the biggest and most obvious ones because we know right now it's kind of dead even from what we've heard, right? I know there's been some reports out there that Anthony Richardson's been demoted. Don't listen to those people. That hasn't been the case. At least yet. Nothing has officially been confirmed at all. Right now, it's anybody's game for that backup quarterback position. And that is the biggest one for sure because there is a reality based off of what we've seen even last year where one of these quarterbacks, whoever does win this battle, could get some reps this year as a starter. I mean, it's a realistic possibility here with the injury history that Daniel Jones has. So to me, that is definitely the biggest one that I am watching. A lot of us are watching is how do both these quarterbacks look here in week one of the preseason. Now, the second player that I am watching here would be backup running back Seth McGowan, 7th round pick this year out of Kentucky. We've heard a lot about Seth McGowan having a very strong camp, especially with DJ Giddens down with injury right now. Seth McGowan has continued to impress, and right now he's listed as that number 2 running back on the depth chart. So how does he look here against the New England Patriots defense? Does he have a strong performance here? Does he continue to show out like we've seen him do in Colts practices? I'm very excited to see Seth McGowan because I've said from the beginning when the Colts drafted him, I felt like he was a player that was much more talented than a 7th round pick. I think he's a player that legitimately can contribute. And so far he has done that through the course of camp. Now against someone else besides your team, how does he look? I'm very curious on that. So he's a big one there for me that I'm looking at is how does Seth McGowan look? Because if he looks well and continues to do well, he's going to get some carries this year to help spell Jonathan Taylor, which the Colts have already come out and said they want to do that this year. So we'll see with Seth McGowan. I'm very curious about that. Continuing on, we have to talk about that wide receiver 3 position. You know, I know a lot of starters aren't going to play, but I'm curious. Do we see Ashton Dulin? Do we see Nick Westbrook-Akine? Obviously, you have the injury still with Alec Pierce, not back quite yet. So do we see these guys out there? Do we not see these guys out there? If they are out there, I definitely want to see them. And I definitely am curious to see if either guy kind of separates himself from the other here in this game, catching passes from Anthony Richardson. So I'm very curious on that. And then really just outside of that, all the other wide receivers on the roster as well. Specifically 2 guys I am very interested in. Obviously, you got to talk about Deion Burks, who a lot of people were high on, has had some nice moments with camp, but hasn't really run with the starters. So he'll probably be more of a second half type of guy, depending on what happens with that wide receiver position. And then the other guy I've heard a lot about is Coleman Owen. I've heard a lot about Coleman Owen this camp. Kevin Bowen said, hey, he's a dark horse guy to watch out for, potentially push for a roster spot here, which definitely not anybody that we expected to compete for a roster spot, but he has definitely had a strong camp. So I'm curious on him because we've heard a lot about him, and I'm curious what he does look like here in the preseason. Now, a couple other names here. The last one on the offense that I want to talk about has to be Jalen Farmer, the Colts' 4th round pick this year. We thought maybe he was going to compete for a starting spot. It appears, at least at this point, he is firmly the backup guard there for the team, but I am very curious, especially if we don't really see the starting offensive line. How does Jalen Farmer look? I mean, we know he's a physical specimen. We know he did some really good things at Kentucky. How is he going to look here in his first preseason action? I'm very curious on him. Another player I want to talk about that I think is going to have a big role, whether or not it's as a starter, I think he's going to have a big role this year. That's Jalen Tuimuluau. I do think Jalen Tuimuluau will see the field a lot in this game, and he had some nice moments against the Patriots. He's had some nice moments in camp, so we need to see him really show out this preseason. So I'm curious to see what he does look like here in the first preseason game. Can he get some pressure? Can he get to the quarterback? Can he do some good things there? I'm very curious on that. Got to talk about the linebacker position, specifically looking at Bryce Betcher. Has rotated a lot with this team so far through camp. I want to see what the rookie's made of. I'll also throw Austin Ajaki in there as well. We've heard a lot about him coming out of camp. Another player similar to Coleman Owen that we didn't really talk about when we were looking at the linebacker position. We didn't really consider him, but he has definitely had a strong camp, and he might get some starting reps this year with this team if they're going to continue to rotate as much as they have. So those two young linebackers, I'm very curious about there. And a couple other guys I'm very curious about, and we'll kind of see with Justin Wally. I know he's just coming back from that hamstring, but if Justin Wally's out there, I'm curious to see what he looks like. We haven't seen him in any game action so far, so maybe there is a chance he is out there, or maybe the Colts just want to be careful with him and just sit him on Thursday. But Justin Wally's a player I've heard a ton about, and I'm very curious on him. And the final couple guys here I want to talk about here are some other young players in your DB room, specifically looking at A.J. Holsey, the rookie third-round pick out of LSU, who has been the starting strong safety for the last week or so, and then Hunter Wohler, who's now just coming back from an injury he sustained about a week or so ago as well. But before he was injured, he was listed as a starting strong safety. So I'm curious if any of those guys do get run. I think Holsey definitely will. I'm curious with the Wohler injury if he will or not. But yeah, guys, really it's just a lot of these young players that I'm curious to see what they look like here against some actual competition. Again, it's probably not going to be the starters, but some actual competition outside of their own team. What do they look like? Who stands out? I'm very curious about all of that. But other than that, guys, that does it for this one. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Any other players that you're really looking forward to watching in training camp? Let me know. But that'll do it for this one, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Greatly appreciate it. And as always, guys, go Colts.